If there's one thing you can say about Dragon Ball is that it likes to throw curveballs at you. And while we weren't there as the original series was coming out in Japan and witnessing, the debut of Frieza, the androids, and all that other shit, we were here for Battle of Gods, Resurrection F, and all that kind of stuff. And really, the announcement of Daima should not surprise anyone. For reference sake, the only reason Toriyama was involved in Battle of Gods is because he was Sultimus Maximus about evolution being shit. The only reason Resurrection F was actually made, well, the reason it had the story that it had was because Toriyama really liked a metal song about Frieza, and so he just brought him back because he was a fan of the song. And in here, with Daima, it looks like Toriyama's been in a JRPG mood, which I don't know if he actually plays any of the video games he's actually worked on. I don't really see him as being that kind of guy. He's more of a car buff, as I understand it, mechanic car buff. But he has been involved with RPGs beforehand: Chrono Trigger, Dragon Quest, Blue Dragon. And from what people who are actually working on this show have said, this is supposed to be a JRPG with Dragon Ball characters proper, not just another universe that happens to use Toriyama's designs and aesthetics to tell a different kind of story. This is Toriyama doing kind of a JRPG through a new animated series. And that's not the worst premise I've ever heard of. I know a lot of people have already compared it to GT because everyone gets turned into a kid again. Not just Goku this time, but it's about Goku becoming a kid again. He's going on different adventures on different kinds of planets. It's all but confirmed that the transformations are going to be scaled back. That he's probably not going to have access to. I assume the God forms are going to be tossed out. He's probably going to have Super Saiyan at the very least. But the spectacle fights, the big zipping around, Tournament of Power style shit, all of that's probably going to be severely toned down or thrown out in favor of more down-to-earth battles. And on one hand, I think if you're going to keep using Goku as the protagonist, that is a necessary thing to do. I believe that the Buu arc already took Dragon Ball's powers to their logical conclusion. And Toriyama was able to, introduce even more stuff beyond Majin Buu, but that was also brought to a logical conclusion with the Tournament of Power. And I think all of the post-top content really showcases why you just can't do stories in classic, I guess, Z style, quote-unquote, after the Tournament of Power, because in the movies, Goku basically does not advance as a martial artist whatsoever. In fact, Superhero has him forget what fucking meditation is. And the Toyotaro arcs in Moro and Granola show him just doing the same character arc he had in Tournament of Power, where we're going to have Goku relearn how to use Ultra Instinct over and over and over again. There's really nowhere to go anymore unless you're gonna introduce a set of new multiverses that are even stronger than the multiverse we're already on. But I don't think that's necessary. I think that if you have to keep Goku as the protagonist, dialing it back, turning him into a kid, taking away several of his abilities so that you can fit the JRPG mold is a wise story decision. Otherwise, you're going to run into the problems of the movies and the Toyotaro arcs that I've already mentioned beforehand. Now, this is a big kind of issue for some people, and I perfectly understand it. It's kind of a problem for me as well, because the whole thing with Dragon Ball is it's a story about Goku constantly advancing as a martial artist. It's constantly him pushing his limits. It's about him learning new abilities, new techniques, new transformations, or mastering existing ones. There's always forward momentum, and so doing a story where Goku is going to get reverted back into a child and a lot of his progress across the decades is going to disappear inherently bothers some people, and that is an inherent issue with the premise as it is. This is a problem GT had as well, where Goku... once you take away Goku's advancement as a martial artist, you just get boring, naive idiot guy from the Hunt for the Dragon Ball arc. That was fine for the introduction of the character, but just using him like that after decades of experiences and other storytelling have advanced the character forward, it does feel kind of mid as fuck, to be honest. And that is a problem that Daima has to deal with. It has to deal with that thing of How do you keep Goku as a character interesting when his advancement as a martial artist is not going to be the focus of the story, and a lot of his existing advancement is going to be removed? And they can't keep the god forms or instantaneous movement because, well, that's going to defeat the whole premise of the story. If everyone can just teleport around and just do whatever the fuck they want and blow shit up, then it's really hard to make an adventure when your guys can blow up planets. So that is an inherent flaw of the premise itself, and I am curious to see if Daima is going to be able to avoid that pitfall that GT fell into, where Goku just becomes kind of a boring, naive idiot guy. Another issue that may plague the series, and I hope that they learn from GT, is that the GT staff very quickly figured out that their own premise would not be able to hold an entire series going forward. The original pitch for GT was Buu arc has taken Goku's martial arts advancement to its logical conclusion. There's nowhere to go with that, so we're going to scale it back. But as soon as they were doing episode 3 of GT, they realized we can't make a whole show about this. It's going to be boring. Now, a lot of the problems with GT is that GT had no cool or interesting or even funny ideas for its myriad of worlds. They were all either boring as shit or just kind of riffs of Western cartoons, which could be interesting with the right kind of gags, but the way GT did it, it didn't work out. And so GT basically gave up on its own kind of fundamental premise very early on in its life cycle. And it's going to be interesting to see, with Toriyama's involvement and with the benefit of hindsight, are they going to be able to truly make a whole series that's just Goku and company are kids now. They have to zip around the universe, perhaps even the multiverse, and perhaps collect something or find someone, take someone down. Who knows? A lot of the story beyond just the base premise is still unknown to us. And as I said, if you have to do what you do to Goku and the entire cast this time to send them on a JRPG story, then wouldn't it not make more sense to just use a different protagonist? I mean, Pan is around. Pan is like 3 or 4 years old now. She's just about the right age Gohan was when he, decided to fight the Saiyans, which is way bigger stakes than most of the shit Goku did when he was much older than Gohan. So, if you want to do a JRPG story specifically using Dragon Ball characters, why not use Pan? Why not use Bra? Why not use some of those, kid characters that are not quite as strong as the adults and just send them off on their own adventure? But this kind of runs into another problem where we've seen Dragon Ball done without Son Goku as the protagonist, and it usually doesn't work. Dragon Ball and Goku are inexorably connected. It is Goku's story, no matter what people tell you. And so I can understand the fear and trepidation of trying to do a Dragon Ball story, a whole ongoing storyline, without Goku there, or Goku being relegated to a supporting character. So the premise has a few hurdles to overcome. It's going to be interesting to see if they're going to fall into the same pitfalls as GT. Are they going to be able to overcome them, and to what degree they're going to overcome them, and to see if it can justify its own existence. But one thing I am so happy to see is that the trend of healthy Dragon Ball animation productions that started with Broly is going to continue. Dragon Ball has not always, but frequently had really fucked animated production cycles. The reason why if Goku vs. Frieza is a horribly paced meme is because they basically caught up to the manga and they had to stretch things out to One Piece levels of padding and shit pacing. And this resulted in, the infamous Namek battle. It resulted in a lot of animation issues. It didn't help that Toei mandated that the same people who are working on the anime often had to go and do 2 other movie projects simultaneously, and then they wouldn't be able to work on the TV show for months and months. And, I believe GT had some of its own creative problems as well. Dragon Ball Super was a collapsing mess that was only barely able to be salvaged by the Tournament of Power, and even then it had its own problems and issues. But, Dragon Ball Super Broly had a healthy production. No production woes this time. Superhero, likewise, seemed to have a healthy production. And this thing, Daima, has been in the works since early 2022. I believe they created like a test footage of the premise because a lot of the people who are working on this worked on Dragon Quest Dai, which was kind of like, I guess, the successor to Dragon Ball Super's time slot. And now that same team, or a lot of that same team, kind of pitched to Toriyama, hey, what can we do like a JRPG story in Dragon Ball? And they created the pitch, they created test animation for it in late 2021, and they've been actively developing it since early 2022, and it's coming out in autumn of 2024. So not only are they exceptionally well along, but they have an entire whole year to tweak character designs, perhaps even do like, story revisions, fix up animation. The fact that they were already able to show as much as they did is a really good sign, and it's so nice that we're going to get a modern Dragon Ball TV show that's not going to have the horrendous production cycle that doomed a lot of Super. And a lot of, the great people that worked on Super are coming back. Takahashi, Tsuji, I believe Naoki Tate is also coming back. Kubota, great animator and fantastic character designer. He's working on this as well. Shintani's working on it too. Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru, one of the OG motherfuckers from the original Dragon Ball animated runs. He's coming back to do character designs as well. It's really interesting. It's an all-star team, and we don't even know all the animators and storyboard artists who are working on this. But like I said, it's just really cool that these talented people are going to have the time and resources to make this show the way it, deserves to be made. Whether or not the show itself, like I said, is going to be able to overcome some of its own inherent premise issues. Is it going to be able to justify its own existence? Is the team going to realize that Dragon Ball in an adventure format, at least with Goku, doesn't work, and they're going to go back to the spectacle format? It all remains to be seen. They could, take inspiration from some Dragon Quest stuff, even Chrono Trigger. Like I said, Toriyama's worked in the genre beforehand, so they do have things that they could draw inspiration and experiences from. But yeah, I am actually kind of interested in this show. I don't know if I can really stomach a whole premise where everyone's a kid for the entire show's run. But to be fair, we don't know how long the show is. I don't think it's gonna run as long as Super did. I probably assume it's gonna run closer to GT's length, but who knows? If the show turns out to be mega popular, Toei Animation might decide to extend it past its life cycle, or it's going to run for however long Toriyama is interested in running it. I believe that the episode length format is 24 episodes. It is a proper full animated series. Some of the pre-release rumors said that it was going to be like a side project, that it's going to be a web animation, that it was going to be like 10 minutes long per episode. We'll see if that might have turned out to be a better format for this. Like I said, a lot of the show is completely up in the air. We're still a whole year out from its premiere at the very least. And it's going to be interesting to see what other tidbits and story details we're going to get as the preceding year goes on and more information is gradually released. So color me as, I guess averagely excited for this, based on the story material, but pretty excited because, like I said, the animation team is going to be able to actually work at their own fucking pace and produce material that's up to their usual, quality standards. So yeah, what do you guys think about Dragon Ball Daima? Is this what you wanted? Is this what you expected? Did you want maybe the movies or the Toyotaro arcs adapted? Personally, I'm absolutely fine with Toyotaro shit being relegated to V-Jump Hell, but I know I'm kind of a minority on that, I guess. But yeah, share your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.